What were you scared of?
Being found out is the scariest thing you can hope, because we all have a facade,
Yeah.
and the truth be known to all of them. I'm not some big star. I'm just me.
What if the voice behind one of the most iconic choruses in American music history, Sweet Caroline, now trembled so badly he could no longer strum a guitar, let alone command a stage? Imagine the man who once set stadiums ablaze with a single lyric now sitting in a quiet Los Angeles studio, alone with his memories, his music, and a diagnosis that forced him to say goodbye to touring forever. Neil Diamond, musical legend, 125 million albums sold. The soulful voice behind Solitary Man, Cracklin' Rosie, I Am, I Said, and America, was once the heartbeat of a generation. His story isn't just about chart-topping success. It's about the unimaginable price of fame, the pain that birthed his most honest songs, and the grace with which he now lives as Parkinson's disease slowly takes away the craft that once defined him. Born in 1941 in the wartime boroughs of Brooklyn, Neil's early years were far from glamorous. His Jewish immigrant parents scraped by in a world still licking its wounds from the Depression and now thrust into global war. They moved constantly, and Neil learned early what it meant to survive. But something unexpected happened during a brief stint in Wyoming, where the family relocated while his father served in the military. Neil fell in love with cowboy films, the rugged landscapes, and most of all, the power of music to tell stories. When the family returned to New York, the wildness of the West remained inside him. At 15, he wrote his first song, and after seeing folk icon Pete Seeger perform at a summer camp, Neil returned home obsessed, begging for a guitar. He got one, an old $9 acoustic, and locked himself away from the world, fingers bleeding, mind racing. At school, he wasn't the star yet, just a kid who couldn't stop writing lyrics in his textbooks. He sang in chorus with Barbra Streisand. He learned discipline from fencing and even won a scholarship to NYU. But while he sat through anatomy lectures, songs filled his head instead of medical terms. 10 credits from graduating, Neil did the unthinkable. He dropped out to chase music. His parents, especially his father, were devastated. And then came the wilderness years, writing songs in grimy offices, being told he was too complex, too personal, not pop enough. Columbia Records dropped him. He was broke, heartbroken, and hungry, literally. Some days, he had less than $1 for food, but in that struggle came the spark of something greater. Solitary Man wasn't just a song. It was his life, set to melody. Then, finally, in 1965, Jay and the Americans gave him his first hit with Sunday and Me. A small victory, but enough to keep the dream alive. Then came I'm a Believer, written for the Monkees. It exploded before it even hit stores. In that moment, Neil Diamond transformed from a struggling songwriter into one of the most powerful voices of the 20th century. He began releasing solo work, Cherry Cherry, Kentucky Woman, Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon, songs rich with heartache, longing, and defiance. Then, in 1969, Neil appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show. One song changed everything, Sweet Caroline. The performance was so raw, so magnetic, it turned a catchy tune into a cultural phenomenon. For decades, fans speculated, who was Caroline? It wasn't until 2007 that Neil revealed the truth. It was inspired by a photo of a young Caroline Kennedy, an image of innocence that gave him hope at a low point in Memphis. The song took less than an hour to write, but it became eternal. As Sweet Caroline echoed through ballparks and wedding halls, Neil's own life spiraled through marriages, divorces, and personal reinvention. He married his high school sweetheart, had 2 daughters, but fame destroyed their bond. His second marriage lasted 25 years, ending in one of the biggest divorce settlements in music history. Yet Neil never lashed out. He simply wrote more music. During a tour in Australia, he met Ray Farley, and their bond inspired one of his most emotional albums, Home Before Dark. Later, in an unexpected final act of romance, Neil fell in love with a music executive 3 decades younger, Katie McNeil. They married in 2012, and it was Katie who stood beside him when the unthinkable happened. In 2018, just days before his 77th birthday, Neil Diamond announced he had Parkinson's. The tremors, the balance issues, the creeping limitations. He couldn't tour anymore. He was mid-tour when he pulled the plug, canceling shows in Australia and New Zealand. His fans were stunned. So was he. For 2 years, he wouldn't even say the word Parkinson's. In interviews, he admitted he lived in denial. "I have work to do," he told his doctor, but deep down, he knew. As the disease progressed, Neil began to find a strange peace. "I like myself better now," he said in the 2023. "I'm easier on others, easier on myself." He wasn't done yet. In 2005, he'd already stunned critics by releasing 12 songs with Rick Rubin, an album that stripped away the glitter, the orchestras, the bombast. Just Neil, his guitar, and his truth. It hit number 4 on the Billboard charts and reminded the world why he mattered. Meanwhile, his songs found new lives across decades and genres. UB40 turned Red Red Wine into a reggae hit. Johnny Cash gave Solitary Man a haunted, aching soul. Urge Overkill turned Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon into a cult classic through Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. His music crossed generations. Adele, Coldplay, Foo Fighters. Everyone seemed to find something of themselves in Neil's lyrics. He was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1984 and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2011. But the recognition that meant the most came from everyday people, those who saw their own pain and hope reflected in his words. In 2022, Broadway came calling. A Beautiful Noise, a musical about Neil's life, debuted in New York. But it wasn't a fluff-filled jukebox show. It was raw, framed as therapy sessions that explored the loneliness, the depression, the truths he never spoke aloud. Watching it, Neil said, was terrifying. "We all wear masks," he confessed, "and the scariest thing is being found out." But on opening night, he shocked the crowd. From the balcony, Neil Diamond, fragile, older, yet still radiant, led the audience in singing Sweet Caroline. The theater shook with joy. It was his first public performance in 5 years, a moment frozen in time. He returned again in 2022 at a Red Sox game, leading fans in their unofficial anthem. In that stadium, under those lights, the tremors didn't matter. The disease didn't matter. The crowd lifted him up. And even if he never performs again, Neil Diamond has already done more than enough. His music isn't just a playlist of hits. It's a memoir of the human experience. Loneliness, love, heartbreak, resilience. He once said that America was written as a gift to his immigrant grandparents, and decades later, it became an anthem at Latino immigrant rights rallies. His words reach places he never imagined. And now, as the world moves faster and memories fade, one thing is certain. Neil Diamond's voice will never be forgotten. His songs live on in baseball stadiums, on late-night playlists, in the quiet moments when nothing but a melody can say what we feel. And so, the man who gave us Sweet Caroline walks a little slower now, sings a little less, but still writes, still creates, and still inspires. The ride has been so good, so good, so good, and it's far from over.